This meeting is being recorded.
That's a different voice.
Stand, wait, at 6 o'clock, please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So we have minutes from April 2nd. Scott's looking at them now. Did you look at them?
I looked at those.
I didn't see anything. I thought I did, but I scratched it out. It was actually in the hard part of the motions.
I'll move to approve when you've got. Ready?
It looks good as I remember.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Did we have a second?
Scott seconded.
Oh, okay. Aye.
We have an RFP that we're putting together for sand and gravel for the highway department. Basically just trying to get a list of bids for different types of material to use. Basically following New Hampshire DOT state specs for all of it. And then once we get some feedback on this, we'll be able to figure out if we can truck it or have it trucked by somebody else, but we have to know where we're gonna get it from before we do that. So. Scott, you've looked at this. Sadie, you've looked at it. You had a suggestion, Scott?
Yeah, my suggestion, we've got down for 5 products. I would just like to see it be, ask for a bid for a product list that each pit offers for a seasonal price. Because as I was explaining, we have in here for 1.5-inch crushed gravel. I've been able in the past to buy 1.5-inch hard pack for less money than crushed gravel, because hard pack is actually more available than crushed gravel is. That meets the specification.
Dale, any input?
Oh, just reading on the sand, it doesn't say anything here about, manufactured sand.
Well, that's why I say if we put out bid
Right.
as a seasonal bid for their product offered,
Yep.
that we should be getting a price for the products we have there, manufactured sand, 1.5-inch, 2-inch hard pack,
Yep.
3-inch stone, 4-inch stone, everything.
Are the quantities accurate, Dale? I have no idea about these things. It seems like a lot.
Not really.
No,
We put out 5,000 yards of each and that. Truck gravel in one season. It doesn't take long to
No.
heat it up,
no.
but
So,
we got a lot of shoulder work that should be done. I don't know if it's gonna get done.
Because we'll say,
You're now 4-inch lips on some of the asphalt that,
and some of the new asphalt needs to be brought back up.
so Scott, if we do it the way that you said, just with a price for the material and then a price to have it delivered,
Yes, trucking price,
and we don't identify a quantity. You
The
know,
only
so like,
problem is the pit may not be actually delivered, so depending on go, so.
yes, I guess that's my
So that's why we're
question. This
trying
is
to-
going out to like pits for material or to potential? Okay,
This is Chet's on the item. The goal was to try and get them to give us some baseline pricing. In item number 3, when you look at that, Dale, is manufactured sand. And what we were trying to do is some of the pits do have the ability to truck or have a relationship with trucking, but until we selected a pit, putting out an actual trucking RFP would probably be a little premature. So
Okay.
the goal was just to say, let's get the quantities going. And I do agree with Scott. We could probably add the 1.5 inch gravel to those things. What I didn't want to do is, like, Twin State Sand and Gravel has a completely different line of material than, say, some of the other smaller pits. So I want to give them a baseline, and we can modify from there. But I certainly would agree with adding that one item.
So Chet, if we get a proposal that we accept and we enter into a contract and it says 2,500 cubic yards, is that price only valid for that amount? And then if we need more,
Well,
we're a different price.
It says approximately. Everybody knows it's typically not that hard line.
I've never run
Sometimes
into
you're always
the
going to go
hard line.
over, you're going to go under, but the unit price should stay the same. If we don't put high enough numbers on them, like what we think what we're going to use, because I went over this with Dale and we kind of got these ballparks. But if you put in 1,000 yards instead of 2,500, you're going to get a very different price.
Okay,
Especially on the winter sand, 5,000 yards will make a difference on that
Yes.
tonnage or yardage, however they calculate it.
okay. Thank you.
So do we have a motion for Chet to move forward on sending this out with those adjustments?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We have a clarified job description for the highway supervisor that we're advertising for.
I have some feedback. I would like it to be more general neutral, so instead of saying report to the Board of Selectmen, how about report to the select board?
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Barely noticed it. I don't know if there are other, it's not on page.
By the way, since you brought that up, did you notice the manifest this week? All the titles were changed to select board and
Oh,
selectmen.
yes, and my name was on the top. I like that.
Ladies first.
So Sadie, the other reason.
My only feedback is just those changes.
Okay. And I think the primary reason I wanted to bring this to the board's attention was, first of all, we need to have job descriptions for every position, but also the concept of in departments at work that are intertwined, let's say the grounds and facilities and the highway department is having at least somebody who's coordinating that. And that was kind of the goal of this, is to get somebody who's going to kind of oversee.
Okay. Scott, did you? Sorry.
Yeah, that was my main concern, was to add in, so we have somebody kind of overseeing contact wise with the other departments, where anytime they need a piece of equipment, it's coming from the highway. So it makes it easier to coordinate.
Good. Very good. So you're looking also, Chet, we're looking at the tax anticipation note. The reason we're looking at this is our budget went up pretty significantly this year, as we're well aware. But we really don't get advantage of that increase in the budget until after the December tax bill comes out. And we've got some big projects coming in this year, and we're looking to see if we can look at tax anticipation note, which would be a short-term loan from and let Chet negotiate for that, probably through Mascoma, but we'll ask other banks as well. It would be a note that would come out to cover some of these expenses, like some of the paving that we probably couldn't get done this year because we don't have enough money in our unassigned fund balance to cover it like we normally would. So we're looking to do a short-term note to cover that until the tax bills come out, we get paid for the taxes, and then we'll get paid off, so.
Right. And I just wanted to clarify one thing on that. This would be a not to exceed budget, a line item. Basically, I've worked with, and I happen to have worked with Mascoma in the past. But this would be basically a $1.2 million tax anticipation note that we don't have to use it all, and we don't pay interest on the whole thing. We only pay interest on what we actually need. So if we only take out 600,000, that's our note, but it's a not to exceed number.
And so Chet, you had found that historically what was happening that we might want to avoid?
Well, the issue that happened, my history goes back with some people, some information that I've gained, but this last 12 months, one of the other things that happened last year at the same time is we actually held a payment from the school. It was with their permission, but we did hold it for a month, which is basically like using them for a bank, and it's something that we want to avoid. By statute, we're not allowed to withhold those funds, so we want to make sure we're paying our bills on time, independently of any other outside assistance other than the bank for our use.
Thank you.
I believe we had to do that twice last year, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
I believe it was probably common practice in the past,
Yes.
not just last year.
Yes,
Even regulation.
Bob,
I guess I'm trying to reconcile what Chet just said. If you don't have the money, you can't give them the money. So withholding it for a month, you said you're really not authorized to do that?
we are not authorized, no, we. I mean,
Well, where's you have the money?
Well, that's what they're
we had
borrowing
no
the
choice
money
but
for,
to hold
cash
it,
flow.
so.
Okay, you had it, but you just withheld it.
We
Well,
can't- No.
No,
We had it in the budget, but we had to wait until people's tax bill came in June before we could actually pay for it.
It's like waiting to mail your bills until your paycheck shows up.
Yeah, and that's why that seems to make perfect sense to me. That's why I guess it did.
We do not have the money in the bank to actually write the check to.
yeah,
Nesco.
and so there's also been a lot of discussion about the unassigned fund balance and what is actually there versus what has been stated has been there for years, and it's just, there's not funds in the unassigned fund balance, so.
And that's really what the unassigned fund balance is for, to carry you across those, the 2 times a year the town gets money. Essentially, I mean, the bulk of it's money, it's not, we get money throughout the year. for various-
So with the TAN, it's a tax anticipation note, and so it's a line of credit, and the town can borrow the funds in anticipation of receiving the property taxes. And use those to get through until we are flush with that other income.
And essentially, once we get the unassigned.
It will
funds
only
back-
exist for 30 to 45 days. We will not be holding it any longer than that. It is basically from the end of May to right around the July 1st.
And, as the unassigned fund balance gets brought back up to where it should be, where it should have been all along, then that goes away, because that's really what that is for, so. Just to bring those.
And related to that whole process, I do have a certification that you have to sign for the TANs that just you signed stating that you had public meetings and you posted the budget and that sort of thing. So you get a minute. I'll take 2 signatures on it because you weren't on the board then.
Okay. So do we have a motion to move forward on this?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. See, before they went to semi-annual tax billing, that was normal procedures. You got your budget voted on, and then you took a tax anticipation note to operate through the year because you didn't have money coming in till December. Now you get half your money in July, but you still have to operate up till that point.
But just so everyone knows, the budget that's voted on at town meeting is the budget, and the town legally cannot overspend that, so it's not like this is extra funds that, yeah,
I follow that.
yeah.
Chad, do you want to discuss the resolution for the equipment lease as well?
Yeah, basically, because it's an equipment lease and the leasing company is requesting.
You,
all
hold
of
on,
the-
hold on, Chad, we can barely hear you, so I don't know what happened, but.
Move a little closer to the mic, Jet.
Well, I'm sitting like over my computer. If I sit much closer, I'll be on the
That's
keyboard.
better.
That's better already.
So, so basically, in order for the leasing company to complete their work, they requested an attorney's opinion that this was an authorized purchase. And as part of that, he requests a resolution from the select board, now that we have the specific language, that they authorize the town administrator to sign for this lease. And then that will be sent to our attorney, which will then be included in our package back to the leasing company. So this is just an authorization. And, we're also providing all of the information related to the election, what the article said, and what the vote count was. So all of these are pieces of information to get back to the leasing company.
Understood. We have a motion.
So moved.
Okay.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Jet, do you have anything else for us for town administrator update?
I don't have anything today. No.
Okay,
I just got the revised paving quote, but I haven't even read it yet. It just came in. So we'll get back to that when I get back next week.
okay. And Jack, did you have one other thing you had to go over for?
I got a request from the police chief to get your approval for him to apply for a grant for a LiDAR piece of equipment. I think the grant has a value of about $500, or the grant will leave something on the order of $500 left. I can't quite remember which one it is, but he just wanted to.
what type of equipment?
It's
As
a
our radar.
it's a specialized radar for speeding,
So,
and there's a grant that's available to it to go towards purchasing it.
It's a handheld unit.
so it doesn't cover the cost of it, just,
I don't believe it covers the cost of the whole thing, no. And I can't quite tell you if he added that money in his budget or not at the time. In this most recent budget.
okay.
Do we know if he were awarded the grant, when he has to spend it down? It's only $500, but like if we don't have the other funds to complete the purchase in this year.
Well, I think if he gets the grant, then he can come back and talk to you about it. Obviously, he doesn't have the grant yet. He has to apply for it. So I think if he can apply for the grant and then get it, then I would invite him to come back here and you guys can talk about when the purchase ought to take place.
Make motion to allow him to apply for a grant.
Okay, I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye. And I just want to thank him for continuing to look for these opportunities. He's been really great about
Yeah.
saving the town money in various ways and finding grants. So we
No, he
appreciate that.
keeps looking. He talked to me today about it. So,
Very cognizant of that.
yeah.
And do we have anybody on for Upper Valley Preservation?
I think Judith might be in
Just
the
log on.
crowd.
Judith, you're up.
Hey, Judith. Judith, you want to talk about the Moose Plate grant that you're seeking or would like to see?
You're muted, Judith.
Take yourself off mute.
Nope.
No.
Nope. And she's like, "Oh."
Just close to the chest left up.
Can you take her off mute?
I've asked her to unmute, but she hasn't done it yet. There she goes.
There you go.
Oh, sorry about that. Mascoma Valley Preservation is considering applying with the town, obviously, for another Moose Plate grant through the Division of Historical Resources. And this would be to continue repairs of Canaan's 1923 freight shed down at the bottom of Depot Street. The letter of intent to apply is due May 3rd, and the application is due June 21st, I think. And at this point, we are considering applying as a partner with the town. Moose Plate grants are only for town entities or municipal entities. And so I just wanted to let you know that we're thinking about this. We have a meeting tomorrow and we're going to be talking about further work on the freight shed tomorrow evening.
So you don't, right now, Judith, you don't have a plan for the next step of what you want to,
We're considering either repair of both gable ends, including the lunette windows,
Yeah,
or working on either the north or the south face of the building.
okay,
But again, the intent to apply is just that. We would need, in order to apply, we would need an estimate and probably some matching funds. So what I wanted to do is just to make sure that you all knew about this and the dates, and I would keep in touch with you throughout any process that involves the town.
yeah, and I just, I personally want to say thank you for, the last two Moose grants that you've gotten and, the work that's been done on the building. I know it's gonna be a long process to get it to where it needs to be, but
Yeah,
it is heartening to see work being done on it pretty regularly, so.
yeah, always more work to do.
Always, yeah.
So Judith, are you just looking to gauge our appetite for signing off on your application?
Yes,
support that.
that's part of it, certainly. And again, once we enter this, it's a form letter to the Division of Historical Resources. We'll probably be able to speak with the administrator, and she'll give us some sense of whether this is even a possibility for us.
Mhm.
Considering that basically Canaan has already received funding from Moose Plate. They're really interested in the project, but it's a competitive process, so,
Yeah, I have no problems with them applying.
So, thank you, Judy.
Okay, as usual, if we do go ahead with the application, you will be the first to see it before it goes in.
Great,
Thank you.
thanks, Judith.
Thank you.
Jack, do we need to make a motion on it, or?
I think it's appropriate to make a motion to authorize.
I'll second.
All in favor?
I,
For the Moose Grant.
Thank you.
you'll never get anything if you don't apply.
That's all we have. Anybody, yeah, Larry?
I've got one more.
Oh,
one
hold
more
on.
thing. You all have approved a hazard mitigation plan update. And now you just need to sign the certificate of adoption.
Okay.
So I'll take a couple of signatures on that, and then we'll have the disaster emergency preparedness person sign it as well.
Yeah.
Are you?
Very excited.
You sign one of the things.
Sign and special.
Yeah.
That are I'll lap you up to the same thing.
Looking for Judy's last name. Kushner.
Oh, no, I got
Well, I just signed here. I hope so.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I don't need to sign the second page.
I think you do.
Oh, I thought it just had insurance.
Oh, okay, all right.
Larry?
May I approach the board? Larry Brayden.
Sure. Getting more serious and more serious.
Larry Brayden. I have a problem with what happened 2 weeks ago. I was discussing the water and sewer and saying that I didn't get any benefit from water and sewer. Mr. Johnson said everybody in town gets discounts from their insurance because of the fire hydrants. If you look at the paper I just gave you, you have to live within 1,000 feet of fire hydrant to get any discount off your insurance for a fire hydrant. So that was very misleading saying that everybody in town gets discounts because of the fire hydrants, when it's not true at all. So I just wanted the record corrected that you have to live within 1,000 feet of a fire hydrant to get any discount.
So I think,
So we're back to, I do not get any,
well, so the town itself gets the benefit, Larry, of having fire hydrants in town. So that the town's insurance rate is lower because of the number of fire.
that isn't what was said last week. Last week it was said that all the people in town, because the distance from their house to the fire hydrant, and they have to be pressure fire hydrants, not the ones at the beach that are dry hydrants or anything. You don't get, that isn't part of it. It's good for the fire department and it's good for us, but what I'm saying is I don't get a discount on my insurance because of the water and sewer department. And neither does anybody else in town that lives more than 5 miles from the fire department, and that's based on the fire department. And if you live any more than 1,000 feet from a fire hydrant, you do not get a discount. Just wanted to clear that up.
Not to argue, Larry, but I will say that, in the work that the Economic Development Committee has been doing, one of the things that is attractive to potential companies looking to move to Canaan is the potential ability to, because we have capacity in our water system, that's something that is a selling point for Canaan. We've talked with various businesses, we've also talked with several people at the state level in economic development. And they have emphasized that that is a selling point. I'm not saying it's providing any benefit right now, but it is a selling point for the town that we're exploring. So
I do, that being said,
again,
I don't want the town to be sold. I don't want industry to come in. Industry comes in here, you're gonna think it's gonna lower your taxes, but you're gonna need more fire department, bigger schools. You'll never make any money off of that industry.
Okay, well, I'm not sure everybody agrees with that position.
Well, I have experience, so I know.
So do other people.
I'm not lying with you on that
Yeah,
one.
I'm not arguing either. I'm just saying.
But all I'm saying is I was told 2 weeks ago that I personally get better insurance rates.
I don't, that's not the way it was said,
Yes,
Larry.
it is.
No, it was said that the town's insurance
no.
rates
No.
The other thing,
are
There's
reflected
other people
according.
there. That's heard what
What-
exactly.
one thing I just want to clear up when the conversation was there, because I was at that meeting, what it does affect is your ISO rating as a town. And that is the baseline for all the insurance rates. And it does affect the town's overall ISO rating. That's how it was presented.
I just
I
brought
don't
the
know,
ISO
I don't know
rating.
what the difference, I don't know what the
You probably don't have the
approximate
paper
amount is.
because you're not here. But I have the rating in front of me. And how it works. If you're with more than 5 miles from a fire department, or 1,000 feet from a fire hydrant, you don't get any of it.
Through the Pheasant Lane, I don't remember exactly what was said, but I did kind of leave with that impression as well. I remember them saying about, like, if there's a fire at my house, taking the truck down, filling it at the hydrant and getting right back to finish fighting the fire, so there was an implication. I'm actually okay with the fact if I'm more than 1,000 feet from a hydrant, that I don't get an insurance break, but I do like the fact that they can get a truck filled and get it back pretty quick.
Well, this is where it comes into effect. I mean,
You know, I'm just saying that it was kind of implied that it was gonna be an insurance discount, and I just think correcting that and moving on is appropriate now, and that we don't have to debate it.
yeah, I didn't see any need for debate other than the fact that your water system affects your ISO rating of the town. Different insurance companies look at it differently. Because I can tell you from my own business, when we've changed insurances, they want to know the distance from nearest hydrant, from the fire station. And some of the companies, when we get prices, it makes a difference. Some of them, it doesn't.
This is the one that the The state is using it.
Okay, at this moment,
For a standard for the insurance. So, all I was saying, it's all started over, I said I don't benefit personally from the water and sewer department, and I don't.
move into town if that's where you really want to see a benefit.
So I didn't
That
say,
is ridiculous.
I
No.
didn't say anything at the last
You're the
meeting.
one that told me I was getting a benefit. Now you want me to move to town so I get the benefit?
All right.
I
Hold on,
never
hold
wanted
on.
it. I never
Right.
said I wanted the benefit.
Then where are you trying to go with this?
What I'm saying is what you told me 2 weeks ago.
The point
You
we
told me
made,
I got a discount on my insurance.
I did not word it that way.
Well,
I said
just looked at
the
that.
insurance ratings in the town are affected by the performance of what we have for water and sewer. The whole discussion that you were asking was that you said the water and sewer was a completely separate entity.
It is.
The water and sewer is separate in the fact that you have ratepayers that fund into that. It's not 100% by the town, but the infrastructure of that is owned by the town. The pipes in the ground are owned by the town. The operations of it are funded by more than one entity.
Okay,
So,
anybody else have anything?
Well, I have something.
Patty?
I think we ought to pull another public meeting like, Dan used to pull when he was here. And have a big discussion about these roads and their conditions. Cause I don't know if anyone has read the neighbors, community neighbors thing lately. But they are really ripping up about these roads. And they are threatening to sue the town and on, and they're tearing up the road agent. And everyone that's affiliated with him at his work. It's out of control.
Um,
It is
well, that's
out-
why I don't read the community.
I don't care. if
Because
you
it's,
read it or
no, I'm just
not.
saying, because it's keyboard courage that these people are getting.
so
Well,
Patty, to your
they-
point,
It's just a mess. And I have responded in the past, come here, get to the bottom of it. I'm not gonna do that. So it used to be big public meetings. And they used to swarm in here like ants. This place used to be packed.
This is a public meeting.
So, I think we ought to have a big old call-in public meeting, and you guys can explain to them where our tax dollars are going. And why these roads aren't being taken care of, and on and on and on about stuff that. It's been over a whole course of years that it's got to this point. It didn't happen just since he got it. And the other thing is Bob Cushman's gone, they're still bitching.
that's how much they
They-
know, and it's easy to
Dan's
be.
gone and they're still bitching. Can't blame Dan no more because he's not here. So they're all gone. And they're still carrying on. Somehow it's got, I mean, I know that there's a lot of people in this room that read it. Just because you don't, doesn't
No,
mean
'cause-
all of us don't.
I've been exposed,
And I don't care.
as you know, for the last 20 years with Highway. People will go on to these social media. And how many of those people on social media will show up at a meeting and ask a question?
They won't.
That's right.
But they can be called in, and they've been called in before, and you wasn't even here, Scott. You was home. You weren't here. This place was packed out. And they drilled these three, not you, because you weren't here, but they drilled the others until, what, 9:30 at night about it. About time to call them in, let them drill you for a while. Because they will. They'll put it to you.
I've been there, Pat.
So sit up there and answer all the questions
That's what I've been trying to do.
with a half a dozen, maybe 10 people in here.
Well, Patty, we don't control how many
We-
people come to the meeting, and I think we're doing, I
It's
personally
really-
think the board is doing everything that we can to
I
make a
know.
plan going forward to fix the roads.
But that's not the
It's,
fact
it's
they are.
20 years of
They're
mismanagement.
horrible.
Is it possible, Stephen, to put like an update in the newsletter
Sure.
about the roads, just like, just like a written plan?
to some extent, sure.
You know, just. I mean, I know what you're doing, but that's just because I come here. I live with you, but.
I don't think it could be helpful, and then on the same token, though, we attempted that over the fall, and then some of the comments on social media were that it's no longer a newsletter, it's the select board just begging people for money. So I think that no matter what, people are just not going to be happy. We have confidence in Dale as our highway superintendent. We're trying to hire more people for the department. You know, the town, people in town increased what we
I
have.
mean,
in
I
our
know what's
budget.
going on,
Yeah, I
but
think,
it's
up to
horrible.
pay attention.
yeah, and so
She reads it.
and even I've even seen Hugh at one point trying to defend something and it got completely turned around on him and he was putting something accurate.
Oh,
Out there and says-
said it's adequate. He's,
Yeah, so, but we don't, I
I would
mean,
like to have said,
That's
he
just-
came close to it, that it's out of control.
it's just how social media is. People are more comfortable saying things that they would never say in person because they're behind a computer screen. It will just continue to be that way.
I've actually started to get a little enjoyment out of this. And I'll tell you why. I used to get very angry and aggravated. I had a lady stop me yesterday morning, very appreciative. The day before, it was somebody flipping me off and yelling at me. So those ones and the ones that I know that are making the comments on there, I just smile and wave to them a little harder.
Yeah.
And you see them in the store,
I love it.
they shut their mouth, they don't dare say anything to you. Hi, how are you today? So I try to turn it into a game with them, let them bitch and complain on Facebook until they want to free and start screwing with me on the road, you know. BD's known a couple situations that we've had. and-
I mean, Enfield had
Looked into it,
listserv
it's-
and all that. If it got too bad, I'd get pick up, drive in their driveway and knock on the door and ask them what the problem was. They never had the same attitude face to face that they had on the computer.
So
Carol.
since you're wound up, I
Ooh.
I have another question that might do that to you, but I'm so confused with this undesignated funds. I'm totally confused about this. So does the town always have undesignated funds or it's supposed to?
They were supposed to, yes,
They're
Okay.
supposed to. Yeah.
So that would be like the cushion in my checkbook.
correct. If you got,
Did you know you have a cushion?
I'm banking, yeah.
does now.
So I don't know, so I'm confused at why we haven't had one, or.
So we're gonna be discussing that in a future meeting very shortly. When the auditors come in,
Yeah,
and we're gonna have the auditors at one of the select board meetings coming up as soon as they finish the report. The auditors have been saying we've been underfunded our undesignated fund balance for a number of years. I don't know the exact number, but it's a number of years.
We overspent it once.
And
Not we.
so
It was overspent once. Yeah.
so,
There was a time about 15 or 20 years ago where the town was running a $2 million designated fund balance, which is perfectly appropriate and satisfactory. For at least a decade, the DRA and your auditors have been saying, you know, what are you doing? Because that $2 million went down to the negative. You were $150 in the hole. You were bouncing checks virtually. You were covering them, but you were writing checks you could not get. And that's just been a longstanding battle between former administration, the DRA, our accountants, and who have consistently, if you look back at the records of the DRA, every single year for at least a half a dozen years, maybe 10 years, they're saying this balance is far too low, it's below recommended levels. The auditors have been saying the same thing. And
so the town doesn't have to abide by that?
it's a recommendation.
they are, as we say, mere recommendations.
It will affect though the town's potential bond rating when we borrow money, it can affect it. So, but then there will have to be this shift of mindset in town, because for many years, the way warrant articles were written were that we would fund capital reserve from these undesignated funds that we didn't actually have. And so that's, as a select board last year, we wanted to put those to be raised taxation. there was some persuasion at the budget committee to change some of those. So we did a mix last year.
So you're really saying that it could take a while for that to.
Sure.
Well,
It's,
what you
it's
have
not
to,
gonna be overnight.
what you have to change is the behavior.
Yeah.
And we reached this compromise with the budget committee to actually use some of the undesignated fund balance rather than building it up and beginning a multi-year plan of building it up where it's supposed to be. To use some of it in order to find an accord to get a budget out there.
There was a discrepancy between what our auditor said was actually there and what some other people believed, and so that's just how the budget committee had a compromise.
Larry?
FEMA money and so on goes into the undesignated funds, too, doesn't it?
It can, it depends on if
The
your
state
budget is.
grants for the highway department.
So not necessarily.
Yeah.
It depends on if you know it's coming and you budget, you put it in your income side of your budget, then no, it wouldn't go into your undesignated fund, so.
Yeah, because it's not necessarily undesignated, because it's designated to reimburse you for the expenses associated with some sort of disaster. So it's designated.
But the disaster's already been taken care of usually,
Right.
and you're just getting reimbursed for.
Maybe.
Right, but you're not coming out ahead, you're just getting reimbursed.
Right.
So
Remember-
disasters spend money that have not been budgeted.
Because remember, you have to, for FEMA to pay you, you have to show that you have spent that money and it's a reimbursement and you hope that the reimbursement covers what you've spent.
Right.
It's been done at times, that FEMA money coming in. Yes, it's been used to build in the undesignated rather than going into the budget, the offsetting budget. But you have any of these FEMA grant stuff, you have to spend the money, show the paperwork where and how you spent it. And then they will reimburse the approved, what they
Exactly,
approve.
but if, what I was just trying to say is that if FEMA didn't reimburse you, that money would have been spent and not out, not.
But it would have been shifted around from other priorities because we can't overspend our budget. So if we need to pull $200,000 to fix a road that washed out, something else doesn't get purchased or bought or anything like that. So. Yeah, that's not really good either.
Yeah.
Anything else?
When I was, it's just something to think of when you're putting up this gravel and stuff. When I was acting road agent, we put up, an extra 5,000 or 10,000 yards. Dale and I, we did it together. For undesignated stuff, like if South Road washed out or something washed out, we had that. So when FEMA did give us the money back, we were supposed to put that, but the gravel disappeared but it was a great way to bank stuff, because it doesn't eat and it doesn't go bad. You could start a bank of gravel.
You have to have that money come in and do that. And that's
Still to buy it.
us and the administrator, you have to pay attention so that you're able to do that. And
Correct. But if you can get a deal on stuff.
I think unfortunately, because the taxes have been kept level for so long at the expense of other things like equipment and roads that. We have other, in my opinion, we have other priorities of things that we need to try to get back up to like a minimum standard before we can. Stop.
It always seems like chasing your tail.
you are
It's
anytime,
forever- it's a forever-
just inflation itself. If you have 5% inflation and you level fund your budget, you've lost 5% of your buying power. Because the prices went up that 5%, but the money to buy it with didn't. And that's what's been happening over the years. They've tried to hold everything level and costs are at the point where now money's gotta, it's just like you with a paycheck. The paycheck's only going to cover so much. You gotta make more.
This isn't the first time this has been,
No,
we've gone through this.
no, it's a
20 years
never-ending
ago,
battle.
Same, different people. same-
All right, we're getting off topic here.
All right.
Anything else from anybody? Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it. We have a motion to go into non-public.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you again.